Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Napoleon Total back again with some Shogun 2. After our battles, follow Samurai Scramble for the Far East mod, and we're back with the Dutch. I've been kind of hinting that I'm gonna be doing a Dutch playthrough, but yeah. So here we are playing as the Dutch. The Dutch start on the wonderful place of Nagasaki, and they already have one half-stack army, I guess you could say. In terms of neighbors, they literally have only one neighbor at the start of the game, but yeah. We're gonna go over the armies. We can recruit carabiners, heavy dragoons, lancers, hussars, dragoons, colonial saber cavalry, all sorts of wonderful field artillery, which I'm not gonna use, marines, grenadiers, Luxembourg infantry, Limburg infantry, Jaegers, infantry, colonial infantry, East Indies infantry. The good thing about the East Indies infantry is the fact that it can be recruited at every province. So the first thing I'm gonna do is start recruiting dragoons, but because those things are amazing. And after that, I'm just gonna get some East Indies infantry because they're actually quite good for their price. I don't really need a cannon range, so I'm going to destroy that. I do need a military wharf because I do need the military advisor to help with the recruitment and replenishment in the early game. And yeah, that's that. Our general is... well, our general's there, but like... this is our... well, I don't know who he is yet, but I'll sure know. I think this is our son. And I'm going to put my son back into Nagasaki. And we can look at our neighbors. The only neighbor we have is this, yeah, that dude. But in terms of technology, we're actually going to be doing, military doctrine, because we do need suppression fire. Basically, our neighbors are the Saga, so, an interesting clan. I think they were, actually no, they are in-game, for regular Fall of the Samurai, but it's for DLC. We only have two people, the dad and the son, which is just Janus and then the son. So it's Janus Heinrichus, and then his son is basically, well, I don't really care about his son, to be honest, at this stage of the game. But, let's continue. Yeah, what we are doing now is basically just waiting around, and, yeah, that's that. We're gonna actually end the turn. Some of the factions are Satcho Alliance, Prussia, Qing. I'm just gonna let you guys watch the factions pass by because, well, for those who haven't been watching my videos, this is kind of new for you. But, yeah, I've been hinting for you all guys that I'm gonna be doing the Dutch, and now, finally, I'm at it. During the break, I was a little bit slacking off because, well, there was an update for Scramble for the Far East, and now this is beta 12. Unfortunately for me, I don't get to recruit tier 2 units because there's a bug, and I think it affects multiplayer, but, yeah, I can't really recruit tier 2 units in the game. I have beta 12, but, I don't have the DLCs, which is Rise of the Samurai or Shogun 2. I do have Fall of the Samurai, which it's good, but yeah. Now we are gonna declare war on this saga, and they're obviously gonna be joined in by their allies to the right here in Heisen. But yeah. So there's nothing much I can do, so we're gonna we're gonna end the turn, and as time goes on, yeah, so I can't really recruit tier 2 units. I don't think the enemy can recruit tier 2 units either, so yeah, that's gonna be a good thing for me. The Dutch, their playstyle is pretty much rely really on a lot of troops, because the Dutch literally have one of the worst guns in game. They and the Russians and other minor factions really don't have that many good guns. The Russians straight outright rely on massive troop numbers, while the Dutch can only rely on raising colonial levy troops. And these East Indies infantry are the best example. We're gonna auto-resolve because I don't want to attack a port settlement and take 100 bazillion casualties. And we've only lost 227, and that's pretty good considering the fact that if we actually went to the battlefield, it will be a lot of arrow towers. I'm gonna just get more East Indies infantry because they're very good for their considering the fact that they're pretty good for their price and they can be recruited everywhere. Like literally, I can recruit them in this province right now. But sure, I'm gonna destroy that cannon range and we're gonna end the turn. But yeah. One province down, and Heathen, the faction occupying Heathen, wants a peace treaty, which I'm obviously gonna reject. And we're gonna watch until all the factions continue. So yeah, the Dutch really have to rely on two things. If they want to rely on their navy, they get outclassed by the British. And if they rely on their infantry, they get literally outclassed by everyone. So that's a shame. The good thing for me is that I don't have to worry about public order, so I'm literally gonna turn up the public order on 1000%. I'm gonna have more troops enter my army led by my faction leader, and I'm actually gonna recruit some actual Dutch infantry. This is some Limburg infantry, I believe. But we're actually gonna start replenishing quite slowly because it is one winter and we don't have a military visor. But in terms of money, our situation is somewhat solved. 1,300 Ks, 1,300 is pretty impressive for the early game. Obviously, it's nothing literally when we go to the end game, but yeah. But for those that are wondering, I already have recorded 50 episodes of full 50 playthroughs. I just have to edit them, and then I can let you guys watch. But thankfully, we have started recruiting. We are actually getting some stuff, and yeah. And it is now spring, which means it's essentially for those. It's campaigning season. And now we can actually start moving on. And we won't be taking winter attrition. And not to mention the fact in Heathen, there's really no one stopping us. I potentially do want to get a fleet, but I'm out of money, so I'll just wait. I'm gonna end the turn because once again there's nothing to do. In terms of path to expansions, I want to take Kyushu. I think that's how you call it. This island. Kyushu. Yeah, it's Kyushu. I want to take Kyushu, which does means I have to fight against the most powerful AI in the game at the start, and as the Sacho Alliance. Not because they're good, it's literally because they are massive, and they can just throw troops at you. With that said, my troops are European, so that means they do have a better chance of surviving. But thankfully, the Sacho Alliance is not that strong, but they are one of the strongest beginner factions. We do have some infantry, so I'm gonna move them. In the update, I think that they've really upgraded the movement speed of individual units and not like tied with the general. So you can especially see like if I have a cavalry unit, I can run through 2 provinces and more. But like if I have a general with a cavalry unit, they can't even run past 1. So that really just leads me to question what's the point of a general if their only purpose is to increase not only the walk speed but the replenishment. Yeah, so there's gonna be a problem. I hope they fix it. Usually if you add a general, it should make you walk or run even faster. But yeah, that's interesting. We have mounting up rest, but once again, the developers, although they've done a very good job, some parts haven't been changed. For example, public order. And at this point, I really don't care about public order. This mod should be more focused on the battles because, well, European units just look wonderful, essentially. Okay. So we have... Okay, so we're gonna continue. We're gonna wait for the enemy to sally out, and when they sally out, we can annihilate them. And, well, this is interesting. My army is twice as large, but the enemy actually does not have a chance. But there is an interesting unit in the form of the enemy militia, but that we have to talk about that when we get on the battlefield. On the battlefield, my units are moving up on this hill, so not only do I have the hill advantage, I also have more units. On my right flank, or on top of, well, actually no, on my left flank, I have most of my elite units, Marines, Lumber, Infantry, and Colonial Line Infantry. On my right flank, it's all my non-elite infantry, which, well, they're not terrible. They're actually on the class of actually Colonial Line Infantry. They're actually the East Indies Infantry. That is why they're so amazing. But they're not from the Netherlands. They're from the colonial possessions of the Netherlands. So I have my colonial troops on the right, my Dutch troops on the left. For the enemy, their front lines are just made of bows. These militia, I have no idea what these guys are, but apparently when I read the description, they're militia. They literally look like Japanese guard cavalry from the Meiji Restoration. I kid you not. These guys literally look like Japanese guard cavalry of the Meiji Restoration, but they're militia, which it's kind of funny considering the fact that they look so wonderful. Behind them, we just basically have the Naginata Samurai, and behind them we have General. But yeah, they're marching slowly towards us. My cannons are just gonna open fire on them, and we're just gonna wait and see the damage reports. Technically, I'm not quite interested in... Well, technically I can move off the hill and I actually could still win, but if the enemy wants to commit mass suicide, I'm gonna let them. And so that's that. And there goes another volley. Finally, my line infantry is gonna fire. This is actually my Luxembourg line infantry. There is some glitch because of the smoke and fog. I later figure out, yeah, it's smoke and fog causes lag, which is kind of interesting. But from every battle now on, smoke and lag will be somewhat reduced. But yeah, in terms of my, in terms of the enemy's spears are just gonna charge. They're actually gonna get shot in the back by their own units, which is kind of sad. But it's not gonna help them win the battle or anything. The enemy militia is actually using guns from 300 years ago. I literally don't get it at this point. They have they have better looking uniforms. They have good looking uniforms, but they literally have guns from 300 years ago. They literally have Portuguese matchlocks, literally, and you can see it right here. Like, it's hard to see, but like you can still see it. The enemy front line is just getting evaporated. On my right side, it's even worse because although although they have taken more casualties, it's mainly because the enemy has really attacked on the right. And finally, to make the situation even worse, my cavalry this entire time was flanking around, and now I've decided to charge their most vulnerable part, which is their bows and their spears. Not to mention the fact my cavalry is actually dragoons, and they do not only quite well when shooting, they also do quite well when charging. And I would say that the dragoon uniform for the Dutch is one of the best uniforms for cavalry. That volley you just saw, I'm pretty sure that got more friendly fire than actual kills on the enemy troops. But anyway, we've won, and obviously, sadly, I don't have the end screen for that. But we're just gonna auto resolve. We didn't take that many casualties, but yeah, that was the Battle of Daifazu. We won a decisive victory twice. The last one you just saw, but yeah. Basically, Heathen is now ours, and this is actually a pretty good start considering the fact that I literally did one auto-resolve and one actual battle. Now my economy is actually quite well, 3k. At the early game, obviously it's nothing to cough at in the late game, but every cent counts in the early game. But yes, now I'm gonna end the turn. And now our possible paths of expansion are you go even east. Go east, take the control of the island. I prefer that I go east and then go east, take the 2 provinces, and then go down. And then, yeah, we'll be just smashing into the Satcho Alliance. We do have mounting up rest, but that's nothing. That's not really interesting. War has been declared between Russia and the Qing Empire, so that's pretty interested. We can produce. Finally, we can produce. Our trusty advisor, military advisor. I'm actually gonna get a ship, but from the looks of it, the best vessel I can get is probably this. Yeah, I don't really get it. I rather prefer a cannon range of 900, if you know what I'm saying. So it's 26 guns, but I will find out later that 26 guns doesn't really mean it's still 24 guns. At least on the sides. There are 2 guns in the back, which is kind of sad because those 2 guns are almost never used. I have only used them once during this entire campaign, and that's because the enemy was chasing me, but yeah. But we're gonna end the turn. We have to replenish our troops, because our troops are kind of, well, not so replenished. But we're gonna move on to the next province. And at this point, I'm not even gonna go calling out the names of these provinces, because by the time I do, they'll probably already be dead. So yeah, that's unfortunate. Unfortunate, but it's not, yeah. We can actually start recruiting some colonial East Indies infantry from Heathen, but at this point I want to build up. Our military advisor can potentially move to, yeah, train the troops. And remember how I said about moving? Well, I'm gonna get a geisha, and I'm just gonna get some more Luxembourg Luxembourg infantry. But we're actually gonna move on to this province. I'm not even gonna. Yeah, they're the Tsukisu. I'm not good with Japanese names. I'm gonna admit, but this red and white faction. We're just gonna attack. Yeah. Russia and the Qing are at war, so I'm pretty sure that Russia is gonna come out on top. But yeah. Although the Qing still, if I was playing the Qing, I obviously would win. For those who haven't been watching my Qing or my Prussia playlist episodes, yeah, I highly advise you to watch it, by the way. And I need my military advisor to train the troops. I need you, sir, to attack, so we can block them out. We're gonna continue the siege, and that army is pretty scary. In the early game, the biggest threat to, well, in the late and early game, the biggest threat to any cavalry, the biggest threat to any European army is pretty much cavalry. I wanted to enchant enemies because I think public order is pretty much useless, but yeah. I'm gonna start to get some grenadiers because yeah, because those are the best Dutch unit I can possibly bring on the battlefield. And now we're gonna end our turns. I hope they sally out because I don't want to fight. I don't want to siege them because if I had field artillery, actual good field artillery, you bet I'll be deploying field artillery. But for the Dutch, they literally don't have a lot of good stuff. A lot of their artillery is pretty bad, and now it's very hard to capture mortars, which is really sad. Yeah, so it's really sad. So I really can't get mortars now. I'm just gonna start recruiting even more, grenadiers. And now I'm actually gonna produce some Limburg infantry. We're gonna end the turn again, and I hope they attack me. If they don't, well, I'm not losing because, winter is far away. Actually, not that far away, but still, they're taking attrition if they don't attack. And nope, they haven't attacked, so that's unfortunate. We actually finally do have suppression fire, so that's great. Now we'll be getting naval tactics. After that, I really just want to bang on public order, happiness, public order. But as of right now, I don't really need the navy, so I just go for public order. Not that I really need public order, but yeah. Continue on. I actually will want to get some Jaegers because the sole reason why I'm getting Jaegers is because literally I haven't been using them during my entire campaign, and I want to use at least one unit or two. Definitely not getting whiskey for my general. This legendary Beowulf player sucks, but I have to get him. Either that or it's -7 campaign range, which is terrible. You want to really have your general move as fast as possible. Now we're gonna end the turn. And finally, the enemy decides to sally out. Obviously, from the looks of it, the enemy has a very good army. Their cavalry is pretty dang scary. Their bow cavalry is essentially katana cavalry with a bow. And these guys can be extremely terrifying. Their general is also mounted, obviously, and even if they charges us, even if the general charges us, it's going to be terrifying. Because cavalry in this mod is very powerful. Their line infantry really pretty much sucks, although they have pretty good uniforms in terms of spear levies and the militia, which, once again, they're wearing the Imperial Japanese Cavalry Guard. The Imperial Guards, the Japanese Imperial Guards, the uniform of the Japanese Imperial Guards are worn by the militia, which, at this point, which is really interesting. But in the town, the cavalry is moving through the town slowly but surely. On the other side, my guys are actually setting up. Previously, I want to plant some stakes, but yeah, I did plant some stakes on my left side, but the enemy is going to be quite smart and going to attack my right side, which is going to be quite troublesome. Although there are some enemies that are going to be attacking the center. Most of my units on my right are going to be my colonial infantry, and some more colonial infantry. My artillery is just straight outright pounding the enemy, and you guessed it, most of my units on my left is my regular Dutch line infantry. But yeah, now the enemy is going to be charging, and they're actually going to be opening fire. So it's going to be we're going to be opening fire. I'm sorry. And the enemy is going to be charging straight towards us. Thankfully, I do have some stakes, but I'm going to do another trick move of forming square, and hopefully that stops the enemy. They're actually going to get charged into some stakes, and they actually have a pretty big chance of breaking through my square, because, yeah, that was a pretty good charge, because first volleys of my square is getting hampered. I'm also trying to reposition troops on the flanks so they can shoot at the cavalry, and I hope that works, but we will definitely be getting friendly fire in this battle. But thankfully the enemy cavalry decides to pull back, and we do get some shots off, but I decide to move up later. Yep, right here. I decide to move up. The enemy cavalry at this point, I have no idea what they're doing. They're just running around, not even charging at us. And well, they're gonna pay terrible for that. We're just gonna open fire on them en masse. And at that point, they were like, "Nope, we had enough. We're gonna run away." But finally, the enemy infantry is now here, and this is pretty scary. Because the enemy infantry at this point, they don't have to fire their guns; they have to charge us, and they will win because of their numbers. My army, although has pretty good numbers, is not the best, especially with the enemy cavalry. So they stand a pretty good chance of overrunning us. On the right side, the enemy is chewing through my my line infantry quite well. As a matter of fact, I'm starting to get concerned. That is why I have a lot of my guys from square. And eventually I decided to send in my colonial cavalry to support my own infantry in the fight. We actually managed to scatter this unit, but they've taken a pretty good cost on my infantry. Back in the center, all my guys are forming square against the cavalry because the enemy cavalry was just running around, hitting everywhere. But the second most of the enemy cavalry units are running away, I've decided to form a line, and we're just gonna blast the enemy in their faces. You can also see me on my right flank moving up my own cavalry, and on my left flank I'm forming a circle at the enemy. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna box them in, and we're just gonna open fire on them from all sides. Here my colonial infantry is preparing to open fire on the enemy. And to their right, we literally have the East Indies infantry. Once again, this is essentially point-blank range. We're just opening fire at them at point-blank range. To my surprise, this is how bad guns are for the Dutch. If I was playing as France, these guys would have been pretty much massacred at this point. But even at point-blank, the guns have such a hard time. So I decided to charge in my cavalry from the back. I was really afraid of the stakes that I planted earlier, but from the looks of it, it wasn't that bad. But yeah. And then finally, I decided to have my infantry fix bayonets because most of the enemy infantry has already been routed or shattered. So we're just gonna charge straight in. At this point, it's starting to become a massacre for the enemy. This is actually enemy militia, so the more damage I do here, the better I have to do. The better this auto-resolve is going to be when I attack the settlement, which I am going to be attacking the settlement, by the way. Anyway, we've won a glorious victory, although a quarter of my entire army is dead. The enemy lost pretty much their entire army. They only have 2,000 men left, which they've retreated back to their settlement, but I'm just going to allow them to. Obviously, we don't capture any artillery pieces, which is really unfortunate. And yeah, that's that. We have a rebellion, and with no rebels, I bet. We're gonna auto-resolve. The enemy still has pretty much most of their cavalry force intact. Although, when I mean intact, at this point I mean like 10, 10, and 21, which is really sad. But, yeah, thanks to me, we don't have that many problems. But we are actually getting some Jaegers, so I only need 3 units of Jaegers, and after that I just need a whole bunch of, Grenadiers, or, I prefer, I don't want infantry because I already have an alternative to infantry, which is East Indies infantry. So yeah, I'm just gonna start recruiting that. East Indies infantry, I'm just gonna spam them at this point because they can be produced everywhere and they're quite cheap. Cheap for the fact that they literally have 200 men in a unit. So that it's pretty terrifying. We're gonna end the turn. Oh great, the Satchel Alliance has decided to declare war on me. The enemy decides to sally out again, and they're just gonna get massacred. We lost literally no one, and we've captured the enemy settlement without taking heavy casualties. So that's great. But anyway, that's it. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Now, before you leave, I would like to thank you very much for watching this video. I would be honored if you could like and subscribe to the channel. Remember, more videos are coming out, so it is a good idea to click on that notification button. Anyways, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.